All right, welcome back to my channel, Legends. My name is Soul Betty. You can call me Soul. You can call me Betty. If you hit that subscribe down below, leave a comment and a like. You can call me anything you like, as long as it's tasteful and we all get a laugh out of it. So this week, I want to bring to you a world in Overwatch without support. You're thinking, wow, this can't be really a video, right? Because Overwatch has always had support. Hear me out. Okay, hear me out. Would we still have support characters? Yes, but I think that this could give a really good balance to what Overwatch is today. Now, fundamentally, it would be different. Okay, I'm going to just state that. Secondly, you have to think differently for this to work. Third, the developers would never go for it, so the chances of this ever happening is 0 to none, right? But I still want to imagine and envision what this world would look like. So, first thing I would do if I was to go into a world of Overwatch without support is I would not change the support characters whatsoever when it came to DPS. What I would add is for the characters like Lucio that are heavy on healing and light on DPS, is I would switch that up a little bit. Okay, so hear me out. Think of Soldier 76. Soldier 76 is a DPS character that can also heal. So when Soldier 76 puts his heals down, he actually has a small radius around him that he can heal the rest of his team. So what I would say in Lucio's instance, have his speed boost on 100% of the time, increase or buff the damage that he's doing on his boop and the damage that he's doing on his gun, and then decrease the radius on his heals, right? Now, I'm also going to add for his heals, he can't permanently put his heals on. So he's limited to having his heals on for 5 seconds, and he can only use it when his E's available, right? Which is going to be pretty important. Now, when he does his sound wave, his alt can remain the same and give that boost because that would still be a great alt for Lucio. However, he couldn't be healing throughout the game. He'd have to do burst heals, and then everything else would be movement and DPS for him. Think about that for a second. Moira, kind of the same thing, right? So Moira in her alt, you would take away healing altogether and only have DPS. You would increase her DPS slightly, and then you would turn down healing all the way, so you wouldn't be able to left click to heal, right? But you could still throw your orb as a healing orb. Double the damage orb, so you're making the decision to send out a damage orb versus a healing orb when you decide to do that. So it's going to be an important decision, right? So those are just two examples of what we could do with support. Anna, kind of the same thing, right? I don't know how you would change her per se, but I would say maybe 1 in every 5 bullets would be a healing bullet, and then the other 4 would be DPS bullets. So I'm sure there's folks that could come up with some great ideas when it came to that, right? Now, the reason why I say this, and the reason why I want you to envision this, is it would solve a couple of problems that we're seeing in support right now. There is a lot of complaints around support, how the game plays for support. You've heard my rant videos a little bit around it's not a glamorous role, but it is a lot of fun. And I will say that, and that's why I continue to do it. People ask me, well, just go to DPS or just go to tank. I will honestly tell you, I haven't had a lot of hours in this game. I'm under 100 hours. I do not enjoy playing tank at all. A lot of it has to do with the responsibilities, and quite frankly, my skill level is not at the level where I'm going to win games based off of me being tank. If I win games as a tank, I'm going to need to have my DPS or my healers carry me. And that's going to be really important. Okay. Another factor that I think plays a role into this and what it kind of fixes is there's not that argument between DPS and healers / support players now, where when DPS players go on the flank, how are they getting healed? Whether that's an orb that you send, or, you know, if you're Kiriko or Anna, you're shooting the heals over, whatever that case might be, it kind of eliminates that a little bit because the radius would have to be much closer, right? And I think that plays a factor into it. And I think that would take kind of the argument out for our DPS players, where they know if they're going to push off solo, they're going to have to rely on their own heals if they have that available in their kits, depending on the characters that they're playing. The other thing that it's going to do is it's going to force the tanks to play very smart, right? So a lot of times tanks, we'll play with some great tanks that know what they're doing. And there are some times where tanks might get the benefit from, like, say, a Mercy, who will just put them in a little bubble and just heal them the entire game. Or like me, you've seen it in my gameplay, I'll be Lucio or Moria, and I will just follow my tank the entire game, healing them. You know, you never get a thank you, of course, even if you hit 20,000 healing, and most of that's on your tank. Typically, they just think that they're real good at what they're doing, and they are for the most part, but you do have those few that, you know, are really relying on those heals. They're going to have to play a little bit of a different game, and it's going to shift the mindset of both teams. Okay, I think that's some of the things that you eliminate. That's what a world without support looks like. So it's not negative, and this is not meant to be negative in any way. It's just something to think about, how we could change it up where it's enjoyable for everybody. Now, the last thing that I would also add, and I think that it would be very important if you were to have a world in Overwatch without support, is maybe the support characters change from support to semi-support or part-time support or whatever the case might be, and you give them all mitigating damage. So they're taking damage, or like in Apex, if you're on a low profile character, you know, they would typically take more damage than, say, a bigger hitbox character. We'd want something similar to that for support. So maybe you don't buff their DPS at all, but they have almost like a shield before they start losing HP, right? And that might be something that would work as well. So maybe they're not doing as many heals, but their mobility goes up. And or maybe we do leave them in the game and they're still able to do 100% heals, but we add in that mitigating damage factor so that way they become a little bit more important. Now that would be a world with support, but some big changes there. So I want to hear from you folks, because that is huge. That's drastic, right? And for most of you that are longtime gamers, I knew what I was doing before I did this video, and I figured I'd probably get roasted, because who am I coming over to a game less than 100 hours into it, asking the question that needs to be asked: what would Overwatch look like without support characters? Now, we could make enough changes in this game that essentially they're not as important from a support standpoint, aka healing, but they are far more important from a DPS or a movement standpoint, and still a major contribution to the team. Like I said, ults would play a major factor in that. Now, you would have to figure out some balancing, which we already know Overwatch typically does a fantastic job with if you look at the characters' pick rates and then their win-loss ratios, especially in competitive, right? All of these are major factors when you're looking at a world without support, and or looking at a world of changing what the support characters can and can't do going forward to make the game more enjoyable for support mains like myself. Again, not a rant video. It's just some ideas to get out there. And again, I want to hear from you folks, because if I'm way off base here, I want to hear what your comments are. I want to hear what you think, especially the support mains out there, because anytime I get comments, it's typically from DPS and tank mains. So maybe there's just not a lot of support mains, but I want to hear what you have to say. I also want to hear some ideas on some of the videos you would like to see coming up. So I'm going to leave you with this, legends. If you see me in the arena, whether it is in Warzone, whether it's in Overwatch or Apex, make sure you're using that microphone. If we're on the same team, let's focus on getting that dub. And don't forget to hit that subscribe down below. Trying to build a community here, and it is not an easy thing to do, but we love doing what we're doing, and we're going to continue to do it. So on that note, I'm Soul Betty, and I'm over and out.